Welcome to the mid-September, the Ides of September edition of Sharing Sox. I'm Southside Sox duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent Will. And behind him, for those of you without picture, Gavin Sheets staring off into the distance at a well-hit ball from Tuesday night. We're recording Wednesday afternoon after game one of the series with the Angels, who really have pretty much given up on the season, given what they're throwing out there for pitchers. Tonight,
I think the picture of Sheets is actually from an earlier series. I just needed a good
it's
shot.
The same look.
Same look. Staring it down. Yeah, same look. Because that ball he hit, holy cow! I think I saw a tweet that said it landed in Joliet, and I think that was an understatement. That might have landed in Iowa or something like that. That was absolutely demolished. But yes, go ahead.
All right, so we're down to mid-September, the tail end of the season, and the Sox have 2 games left against major league teams. Although sort of a half of one, if the schedule is right. It's supposed to be on Wednesday night. We'll have Dallas Keuchel, maybe his last chance to demonstrate that he really should be on the playoff roster, going against a kid named Junk, appropriately enough, although he's not a junk baller, he's just a junk pitcher. He throws 60% fastball, so it doesn't qualify as a junk baller, but the fastball is only 91 or 92. He has 3 innings of major league experience in which he gave up 6 runs. Only one of them earned, so he's got a nice ERA of 2.45 and an FIP of 10.
If your last name was Junk and your fastball was only 91, wouldn't you devote all of your time
to
a screwball, a knuckleball,
yep.
a
you
slurve?
Think nothing but breaking pitches.
Yeah, but it just seems like a hugely missed opportunity.
60% fastballs and about 20 each slider and curve and a little bit of change up here and there. So
because if you could really nail those junk pitches and your name was Junk, I mean, you would be legendary. People that is a whole career worth of talk for the announcers and for podcast geeks like us. So sorry, Jansen Junk. Jansen also bold first name. Jansen Junk. Sorry, man. You gotta get it together. No one's out there looking for a pitcher whose last name is 60% 91 mile per hour fastball. Bring the junk, Jansen. Let's see it.
Meanwhile, it looks now, you said it's official, ESPN has just said it, that Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch on Thursday afternoon against Reynaldo Lopez in that one. That should be a more interesting game. Very interesting game. And that's about the last interesting game of the season. That the White Sox schedule, as you can guess, the easiest in baseball here on out. They go to Texas, miserable, awful team for 3 games. They have 6 games against the Tigers left.
How is that possible? How is that possible? Do we just play the Tigers 160 times?
I believe that's correct, except for the 5 games against the Indians.
I cannot even watch those teams anymore. I mean, I'm going to watch those games, but my goodness, baseball needs to do something about this. I am so tired of watching the stinky Tigers and the stinky Indians. Well, we do.
So the other 2 games, they have 2 games with the Reds, who could still be fighting for a wild card spot. They're now a game behind, I think, both St. Louis and San Diego. So they're very much in it at this moment for a wild card spot. But those are the last 2 days of September. They may not be by that point. But otherwise, I mean, it's just nothing. And interestingly, now there are a couple of places that do these power rankings for your strength of schedule. One has the Sox is by far the easiest. The other one has them only 29th, with Milwaukee an easier one, but the easiest in the American League anyway. But they also have Houston with a fairly easy 20th out of the 30 teams. which doesn't make any sense to me because they played the Rays 3 times, the A's 6 times. And other than that, they've got the Angels in Arizona and Texas, which pretty simple. But
well, having that combo of Angels, Arizona, and Texas probably is what knocks down your strength of schedule quite a bit. I mean, the Diamondbacks are pathetic. Texas is truly pathetic. The Angels are, a lifetime disappointment for my lifetime. Although
they don't have Mike Trout.
They don't have Trout. They're not. Ohtani can only pitch once every 5 days, and for some reason they don't ever bother to get any other decent pitchers. So Houston also, I guess maybe you can argue, does strength of schedule rankings take into account how you've done against those teams this year?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I would say maybe we're in a world where Houston has kind of done well against the A's, and that would sort of soften that. But yeah, I mean, we're sitting in a spot right now where we should, even if we are preserving our pitchers, we should be able to pass Houston. I mean, there's no excuse to play the teams we're about to play and not end up ahead of them in the standings.
We're one game behind them at the moment. And that's even doing the preserving the pitchers thing. And then La Russa's been talking about a 6-man rotation. I think that's a great idea for the rest of the regular season. They're obviously not pitching to long times. Rodon went 5. All the guys coming off the IL, Lynn went 5. Last night, Giolito only went 87 pitches in 4 innings. Now, he struck out 8. He had a lot of strikeouts. It takes time. But still, that's an awful lot of pitches. The White Sox pitchers just lack efficiency.
I mean, it's getting worse and worse, too. They had thrown 113 pitches through 5 innings yesterday, which put them roughly on pace for a 200-pitch game. That is absolutely unacceptable. That efficiency, you can't do that in the playoffs. You cannot go to the playoffs and throw 113 pitches in 5 innings and expect to win any sort of game. It was fine last night because they were playing against the Angels, a Mike Troutless Angels without Ohtani pitching. They were playing a joke of a baseball team, really. And, they still gave up 3 runs to them early in the game. But that kind of efficiency is just absolutely dreadful. And it just drains the energy out of you as you watch these games where you're 2.5 hours in and you're in the 5th inning because nobody can find the plate. And strikeouts are great. Having 8 strikeouts through 4 is obviously very good, but it's not good if you throw 90 pitches to do it. It's just not good to only make it 4 or 5 innings because you're throwing so many pitches. It's a huge problem. They really need to focus on this. With the rotation going forward, it does look like it's a 6-man of Keuchel, Lopez, Rodon, Cease, Lynn, Giolito. They really got to focus on these guys and their efficiency. It is just absolutely pathetic.
Interesting if philosophies change in baseball. But I remember back when we were living in Dayton and the Dayton Dragons came into existence in 2000 as the low A ball affiliate of the Reds. And one of the big deals was that they were teaching, it was a Reds philosophy through their system, pitching to contact. And there was a contract. Well, should you pitch to contact or shouldn't you be trying to strike everybody out? And the whole thing about pitching to contact is, of course, if you get a guy to ground out to short on your 2nd pitch, it's a whole lot more efficient than striking him out on your 7th pitch. And it kind of is faded, and I guess it's faded as a philosophy because of the idea now everybody's just hitting for homers. So if there's contact, it's really loud contact and goes a long way. But it's Greg Maddux did that basically. Oh, the idea is to get the guy to hit your pitch, get the pull hitter to go after that low outside one because he has to. and try to pull it and ground out to shortstop or second, depending which handedness he is. It's makes for a much more fun baseball, incidentally, for the fans, not sitting there watching strikeout after walk after strikeout after walk. Oh, home run! But I don't know when the philosophy died. It's a chicken and egg thing. That the philosophy died because people started going for homers. The people started going for homers because the philosophy died. But the idea was your breaking pitch doesn't have to break a foot. If it breaks an inch, you get the ground ball, or 2 inches. If you get the guy off that much. And I remember when we did the show with Dr. Nathan, the expert on baseball physics, and he was talking about the backspin being so important these days because of the home run obsession. That you get the backspin when you hit slightly under the ball. So all you want is to get the guy to hit very slightly over the ball instead. So your sinkers, your sliders, curveballs, whatever breaking pitch you've got, change ups for a lot of guys. It only needs to break enough that it's below. Excuse me. Yeah. So it's below the bat. The bottom edges of the bat. So he's not hitting under it. He's hitting over it. But that's got by the boards. We got all the strikeouts now. We have what we have. 6-man rotation. I like it. We talked about that. Is it more important to have rested pitchers or to get home field advantage? I think we're in with La Russa on the fact that rested pitchers is more important.
Well, and the thing that's nice about this 6-man rotation is we're resting pitchers, but because of the resurgence of Ronaldo Lopez, we're not actually just throwing away.
Yeah, you could get win-win. Yeah, you could get both. You could get both home field advantage and rested pitchers. That's the goal.
I mean, looking at what we have coming up, Keuchel is sort of just the only guy you're throwing out there just to eat up innings and get you through a game. Of course, he usually throws 4 or 5, but other than that, everybody else who's pitching is a game that you could certainly win. I mean, the other 5 guys.
Cease's, but
Cease's last start was just wild. I mean, he started looking so good, and then just fell apart as much as you can fall apart.
Which is his history, Most of his innings are good, and then one goes. I think it's got to be mental. He just falls apart, and everything goes.
But speaking of the efficiency thing, which of course Cease has got no efficiency whatsoever.
Worst starter in baseball.
Worst starter in baseball. And Giolito is, I think, he's got to be top 5, something like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so interesting because from my pitching days, which of course I did not pitch at a professional level, but anytime I threw a ball, I was pissed. Anytime I threw a ball, whether it was in the zone, if it was out of the zone, or if I couldn't get the guy to swing at it, I was pissed. I never wanted a ball on the count. I wanted it to go either to 0-2 to a strikeout or just to a ground ball or an easy fly ball right away. The willingness to throw so many balls in the dirt and so many balls high and out of the zone, I just don't understand it. It's so unbelievably inefficient. And in a time when these pitchers are taking a minute to reboot between pitches so they could throw 98 miles an hour each time, it seems like it would be even more of a priority to focus on command. Because when you're rearing back to throw 100 every time you miss is a big failure. It is a big failure. It takes a lot out of you. It causes you to fall behind in the count, causes you to walk a lot of guys. I just don't understand it. I don't understand this unwillingness to throw those balls at the bottom of the zone with that little bit of break on them that gets you that ground ball. Now, I realize, some guys are going to pound the low ball at the bottom of the zone, lefties in particular. That's kind of what they have eaten for breakfast historically. So it does require some scouting still to know which guys to avoid that with. But it really just blows my mind how guys are willing to go to 3-2 to try to get the strikeout. And it just is completely inefficient baseball. What's the point of having fielders out there, especially fielders? We have a pretty good infield when it's Moncada, Anderson, Cesar, and Jose. And what's the point of having those guys if you're gonna walk a bunch of people and strike out a bunch of people? Pitch for the ground ball. It's not even just, Greg Maddux is, of course, the iconic example of pitching to contact and pitching to get the ground ball. But that was true of a lot of those guys. I mean, Pedro Martinez pitched to get the ground ball. Kurt Schilling, Randy Johnson is a bit of an exception because he threw so hard because he was so tall. But even Randy Johnson was often pitching to contact. He did
Of course,
strike out a lot of guys.
Historically, that's Keuchel.
Right. Now, unfortunately, with Keuchel, he's got sort of so little left in the tank at this point that he's pitching to very hard contact, and he's hanging a lot of his pitches. And there's a huge difference between, hanging a breaking ball and throwing one that should lead to soft contact. And it's just a lost art. It was something, if even in our own system, Mark Buehrle, one of the best pitch to contact pitchers in White Sox history. The guy just went out there and his efficiency came from, can I get out of this inning in 9 pitches? Can I get out of this inning in 6 pitches, 7 pitches if I let the guy hit the ball?
And the games lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I know. And this inefficiency is killing baseball. It's killing baseball. To sit there and watch 113 pitches, and I know I'm harping on that number, but that number is ridiculous. You should not be at 113 pitches in 9 innings. You shouldn't. You absolutely should not. And to be at 113 pitches in 5 is shameful. I mean, you're slowing down the game at such a violent rate that these games are going to be 5.5 hours long, but by the end of 2025, if we don't do something about it. And I don't know where this mindset of inefficient pitching comes from, but it is absolutely absurd to go out there and not try to put almost every pitch on the edge of the zone. And I get that hitters are really good. Hitters can catch up with pretty much everything. But
and hitters are swinging for the fences, so they go after sliders that are 5 feet outside and bouncing and fastballs in their eyes on occasion. And there are hitters where you can do that too.
And when you've got the tape, you've got the footage, you know who you can do that to. You know that if you have an 0-2 on, Miguel Cabrera, chances are if you throw a low slider, bury a slider, you've got a good shot at getting that strikeout. But most of the time, you should be pitching to contact. You should be making the fielders work. And it just really concerns me. Obviously, I'm very pro Ethan Katz. I think Ethan Katz has done a really great job. But it does not seem like the White Sox are trying to pitch efficiently. And that is really problematic. It seems like they go out there thinking, well, if I get to 3 balls, I get to 3 balls. As long as I get the strikeout, it doesn't matter. Well, if you get to 3 balls, you're going to walk a lot of guys. You're going to walk a lot of guys. I don't care how good you are. If you get to 3 balls, you're walking people. And I just, as a pitcher, I don't understand. I mean, any pitch that you don't get people to swing at and that doesn't paint the corners of the zone is a wasted pitch. It's a waste of time. Now, if you got a guy who's going to chase one up on an 0-2, then throw it, of course. A 4-pitch at bat is fine. That gets you a 12-pitch inning. That's not so bad. However, when you go to 3-2 plus 8 foul balls, it just makes for a tedious experience watching people pitch. And I just think that could absolutely kill the game. And I do think it's one of those things that also won't change until they get a pitch clock and until they really enforce this. I mean, it's nonsense what people are doing. Let's take a quick break. I'll stop ranting about that. and we'll come back and talk more things Sox. So we will be right back on Sharing Sox. All right, welcome back to Sharing Sox. You just heard me in my long-winded rant about pitch efficiency, or very much lack thereof. Geezer, what's on the agenda?
Well, let's go out. There's some other things to talk about for sure. One, Tony La Russa Tuesday night after Eloy saved a home run and then fell down, and everybody goes, but he was fine. He apparently was just kind of having some fun, really, because Eloy likes to have fun. But Tony said that's not to happen again. That is never to happen. He is to go back and put his back against the wall. He is not in any way to go over the fence. Furthermore, he's to play deep. He said he was playing shallow. I think it was Fletcher was the batter he was talking about. I said, hey, Fletcher can hit the ball. Get him back. He never wants Eloy doing everything but coming forwards, because of the danger of injury is so high. And Eloy, I think we've said it before, I think everybody said he's a much better fielder this year than he's ever been, but he's still prone to injury and to strange happenings out there. So that's the first step in the outfield is we're going to control Eloy, and he's not going to take chances, and particularly against this schedule we're playing. Hey, and La Russa said that some balls drop in, they drop in. So
yeah.
Meanwhile, on the outfield, we have Andrew Vaughn that's gone to the IL with a back problem. I think he was like 2 for his last 30 or something. I mean, he's been in a miserable slump anyway, and it could very well be injury caused. So he's out. Adam Engel's supposed to come back on the road trip, which starts in Texas and goes to Detroit and whatnot. So he should be back soon. And if he comes back in any kind of shape like he was during the few games he's played this year, I think 33 games is all he's played, which is just too bad, because I'm a huge Adam Engel fan. And when he's out there in the outfield with Luis Robert, Eloy doesn't have to cover much. They can do that. It's just between you and the foul line, and these other two guys will take care of it. And his hitting Engel's hitting has been great. So I think having him back will make a huge difference. Goodwin is filled in fine, especially against righties, but he's really at best mediocre as an outfielder. And Engel's a better hitter too. So that'll be good to get those guys back, or get him back in the outfield. And
there's no doubt about that. I mean, obviously Adam Engel is an undeniable asset to this team. I just don't trust for 2 seconds that he's going to play more than a game when he comes back. The injuries this year have just been nonstop for him. I don't know what's going on, but I picture a difficult road to winning a World Series without Adam Engel healthy and either in the lineup or coming off the bench. And I don't know. I don't know that he can do it. I don't know why he is having so much trouble with that this year. He's just in a constant state of injury. Vaughn, I think, with that terrible slump he's been on, back pain and problems does explain a lot of that. Batting with a bad back ain't going to do you much good. So it's good, but man, another White Sox outfielder on the IL, and while Eloy, as you said, is not the liability that he once was, he's one goofy mistake away from going back on the IL. And the Adam Engel thing is just so puzzling to me, how he just cannot stay healthy. It's been, I think, in a lot of ways, one of the most harmful things to this season has been only having Engel for 33 games. That is wild. That is wild. That is how much time we have not spent with an elite outfield. When he is out there, our outfield is elite, even with Eloy in left field. Just because when you got 2 of the best 5 outfielders, you got a pretty darn good outfield. But yeah, the injuries are of course killing us every day, more and more and more and more. Did Tepera go on the injured list as well?
Tepera went on his should be like a 10-day or something, like some bad cut on a finger, something that
right.
When you will. Tepera said, we talk about the mid-season move on to a different area of the mid-season moves. The Tepera one obviously was excellent. He's pitched very well, and we give up pretty much 0 for that. The Kimbrel one, I don't think is going to look good on Rick Hahn's scorecard. Kimbrel, career-wise, obviously Craig Kimbrel has had a fantastic career. But, it's not just with the Sox this year that he's been awful. He was awful last year. He had a late start to the season. You explain that? He was awful in 2019. He was great again for a little while with the Cubs this year before he came to the White Sox and sunk back down again. There is a $16 million team option for next year.
No.
Unless he comes into Game 7 of the World Series and strikes out 3 guys in a row, comes in with the bases loaded to save Hendricks. I don't see how you do it. You'd have more than 30 million tied up in 2 relief pitchers. It doesn't seem to go.
I think there's no way. No way.
And of course, you've lost Madrigal for 5 or 6 years, which is a huge loss. I'm sorry, Hernandez is a negative WAR since we've had him. Yes, nice glove man. He handles the glove well. On the rest of it, and he's not all that great in the field. Yes, he won the Gold Glove.
He's not amazing. Yeah, he really isn't. He's been kind of a disappointment, but he's reliable enough at second base. He's fine.
Yeah, he's going to be out there. But the Kimbrel thing, saves wise, we've got all this money now tied up in our dual closer thing. White Sox are absolutely average. If you take save percentage as a team, 14th in the majors. Well, that's about as average as you can get. And Hendricks himself is like at 83%, very, very average. His situation, when the slider is working, the other guy's walking up to the plate is just a waste of time. You're just going to walk back again. When the slider's not working, he's very vulnerable. And one thing he doesn't do is go to 3-2 and walk people. He doesn't he doesn't walk anybody much.
Well, Hendricks has that same thing I had, where you see when Hendricks throws a ball, he is pissed. He throws a ball and he is just like walking around the mound, just livid with himself. I love that about him. I think Kimbrel is a huge problem. I would not throw Craig Kimbrel in a game that you either need to be up by 8 or down by 10. I think to throw Craig Kimbrel at this point.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to throw in on that trade, Cody Hoyer has been lights out for the Cubs.
Well, and Cody Hoyer was a piece that everyone was very interested in before the season
started. He's a future closer. He's going to back end, and then he was very bad this year, but with the White Sox, but he's great with the Cubs. So
to be fair, going from pitching in the AL Central to the NL Central is actually a downgrade somehow. The NL
it's about
Central,
the same.
The teams they've been playing are just so bad. But yeah, it's starting to look like that was a really, really terrible deal. To lose Madrigal and Hoyer, and Madrigal, it's a lot of years. I'm not sure Madrigal's actually gonna be that great in the end. I think he's always going to be good, but his ceiling, I think, is fairly low. However, he would have been cheap, and we had him locked up for a long time. And now the Kimbrel thing, there's no chance in hell I give him a $16 million deal next year. I would stop throwing Kimbrel for the most part, unless I had to this year. Just leave it to Hendricks and just pray to the baseball gods that the slider is there. Hendricks, maybe it energized him a little bit when Kimbrel came over. We didn't see that right away. He was actually pretty terrible right when we got Kimbrel. But I would rather put my eggs in the Liam Hendricks basket, which we've already put the eggs in, than give Kimbrel another year. No chance. Tepera is absolutely the best move we made. I'm really hope whatever his finger thing is gets solved, because he is really the only guy I trust coming out of the bullpen completely right now. When Tepera comes in, I always feel pretty good. He is not ever since his first couple outings, he's looked pretty sharp, and he's been very reliable. And Crochet has been very good on and off, but still, of course, very young.
Kopech's on and off. Ruiz has been pretty good actually, but he can have some really bad ones. The guy who's coming around though, and we've both been fans of his for a long time, and we're going, what the hell happened to him? Bummer's been looking quite good lately.
Yeah, he has been getting back on track, and thank goodness, because I honestly think there is no chance we take a deep run in the playoffs without Aaron Bummer pitching at least somewhat as good as he did over the last couple of years. Because to have we have the one power lefty in Crochet coming out of the bullpen, but we really need that sinker that Bummer has, and if he's got it and he's getting back in shape, that changes a lot of things. But I'm still not there yet with him on whether or not it's gonna last for us. It could just be streaky. It could just be that we're playing some pretty bad squads. But yeah, my biggest concern, hands down, going into the postseason is the bullpen, which, as we've mentioned this before, that was preseason. The one thing we weren't worried about was the bullpen. We thought, oh my gosh, you're going to have a game where Kopech, Crochet, Bummer, and Hendricks, holy crap, our bullpen may never give up a run. And now we're sitting here going, well, okay, as long as our starters only give up 3 and our offense scores 9, then we should be okay, because the bullpen will give up 5.
They didn't give up any yesterday.
They did not, and kudos to them on that. Although, yeah, I guess Wright didn't end up giving up any runs.
No, he walked the bases loaded.
Yeah, talk about efficient.
And Wright's been getting a lot of action. I'm not sure what Tony loves about him. So I mean, he was a discard, literally picked off the discard pile, and he's done okay. Although walking the bases loaded probably is unattractive. He got out of it.
I mean, I guess you're just pitching him to rest people, of course. But yeah, I don't see what Tony sees or what Ethan sees. I don't see any really good stuff. It's not like when we would watch Ronaldo Lopez over the years, it was always, man, when this guy's on, he's really got good stuff. The guy
like
has
Cease.
The guy exactly like Cease. Guy has raw talent. The guy can pitch. It's just he's only doing it once every 3 times he goes out there, and I don't see that stuff with Wright at all. And I'm sure he's just a September, fill up some space kind of guy, so that we're not driving our relievers into the ground, because resting the relievers in this time is just as important as resting those starters. But yeah, the bullpen is just a really, really bad question mark for me. I'm very concerned about it. When you're talking about these teams that we're going to be facing in the playoffs, and if you make it to the World Series, let's say, and you're going up against the Brewers bullpen or the Giants or the Dodgers, whew, that is not easy. That is not easy. They are far better than us right now, and that's a major concern. I think we are about at our time for today. Do you have any final topics you want to discuss before we have to part ways?
One thing to throw in, because obviously we're going to face Houston in the first round unless something really bizarre happens between now and October 3rd. Greinke yesterday, absolutely shelled by the Texas Rangers. So that's looking plusish for the White Sox right there.
I don't think there's really any reason to be afraid of Zach Greinke at this point. I like Greinke. I think he's interesting. I think he's obviously been 100% elite at times in his career. But Greinke to me is not we're going to lose the Greinke game, so we really got to focus on the other ones. You throw Lance Lynn out there against Greinke or Rodon, that's a game the Sox can definitely win. I have full faith in that. We should, without question, be able to beat Houston in a series. We are, I do believe, the better team when everyone is healthy. However, with this White Sox team, we also know no one is ever healthy. So we'll see how that goes. Thankfully, though, we have Tim Anderson back. Watching the White Sox play without Tim Anderson is, oh my gosh, it's like, tying an anvil to a bald eagle and telling it to soar. It is so excruciating to watch the dull, drab, sinking energy of this team when TA is not in the lineup. He's even in the dugout, and the energy, the team's energy just dies. It's awful to watch. They're really a boring and awful team to watch when he's not in the lineup.
I think that's pushing it a little.
No, I don't. It is a different energy. It is not fun. It slows everything down. But when he's in the lineup, I think we are without a doubt the most fun team to watch in baseball. Because talk about like the intangibles that can make or break a team. Tim obviously has the tangibles as well. But when you're talking about a guy who could lead you to winning it all, TA has got to be in that lineup. The dog days of summer felt like they were crawling toward the finish line without TA in the lineup. And it's nice to have him back. That's my long way of saying, TA, welcome back. So glad you're with us again. We desperately needed your energy. And then I think before we should end, we should talk about Luis Robert real quick and give a shout out to a guy who is, really developing into what we all thought he was going to develop into,
absolutely.
Which is, a Mike Trout level of talent. The guy's been hitting about 1,000 since he came back from his IL stint. It's remarkable.
Well, he and Grandal between them right now is just both back from IL stints.
If Grandal gets on base tonight, it's a franchise record. So it's what Grandal is doing. And it's not even the same Grandal as it was before, where he wasn't really hitting much, but he was walking every at bat. So he had the best OBP in baseball while hitting 150. Well, now the guy's hitting 400 pretty much since he came back. Plus, he's taking walks. Grandal is the guy I would fear most in this lineup right now if I were a pitcher, just because he bats on both sides as well. But Luis Robert, wow, what a relief to watch that guy play and just see him lock in. And I'm sure they'll figure out some pitch things to control him at some point a little bit more. But batting 350 in the bigs is batting 350 in the bigs, and obviously his defense is undeniably great. His only defensive lapses are when he is a little too confident and gets a little lazy. But he's a sight to watch. My goodness. And I just can't wait to see what he does over the rest of the season and in the playoffs and next year. It's just one of those moves where we all get so excited about a guy coming up. He comes up and he doesn't disappoint at all. He just really lights a fire under this team. I think if Robert hadn't been in the lineup while TA was out, we would have lost a lot of those games. And it's just great to see him doing what he's doing. But that is all the time we have for today on Sharing Sox. Geezer, any final thoughts?
Nope, that'll do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We will be back next week as we head toward the end of this 2021 season and towards our pretty much guaranteed at this point division win and playoff berth. I forget what the magic number is tonight. I think maybe 8, something like that. But we should.
Oh, I wrote it down somewhere, but
whatever it is, it's
7.
Magic number. That one's pretty irrelevant. But yes, it will be lovely when we clinch it. Unlikely to happen, but could technically happen by the time we get there next week. We'll see what goes on. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time on Sharing Sox.